Welcome to the Sacred Designer Podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa Martin, kitchen and bath designer, entrepreneur, artist, and creative soul behind the Kitchen and Bath Digest. This is a show where we weave soulful design into every space and redefine what it means to create with intention. Here we don't just create beautiful homes, we design from the heart, embracing both the practical and spiritual. By pressing play, you'll be joining a community that creates not just for function, but for a sense of sacred space and personal alignment. On this podcast, you will learn to merge the art of design with soulful living, turning every remodeling project into a journey of self-expression and holistic beauty. This isn't just about kitchens and bathrooms, it's about embracing design as a path to a richer, more beautiful life. So let's step into this sacred designer together and create spaces that resonate with your soul. Welcome to the Sacred Designer Podcast. If you're new here, we're going to talk about the intersection of home and soul and how the spaces we create live that are never just aesthetic or functional, but they're about energy, intention, and transformation. I sit down with designers, organizers, healers, and space holders who understand our homes are mirrors. And when we shift our spaces, we shift our lives, whether you're remodeling your kitchen, or you're organizing your home, rearranging a closet, you're in the right place to believe that it's deeper than it actually looks. Hey guys, welcome back. It's Alyssa. So today I'm going to be talking about, kitchen as the heart of the home and how it's a place for reconnection, abundance, and gratitude. So, the kitchen should be considered a sacred place, and it's something where that's also called the center of the home or the heart of the home really often. Just kind of like when we come back home to ourselves, you should be heart center. But it not only nourishes yourself, but it also nourishes your family and just creates a sense of connection. So, as I just said, it's kind of the heart of the home, and it's considered, abundance. It's also considered a symbol of health and prosperity. And when we consider, feng shui principles, so when we're picking materials, or maybe we're just refreshing too, maybe you're, just doing a new backsplash, doing a new countertop, we need to be really mindful in terms of, the different textures and colors that you're picking. Every little thing contributes to the overall energetic well-being of the space. So, as we head into November here, we need to consider, what are these things that are in your space and how can I adjust it to help that flow? So designing for flow and connection. When we connect with harmony and the energy, we need to consider, feng shui principles, different things like the work triangle and what's the relationship between the sink, the stove, and the refrigerator. The sink really considers like a water element, the stove is considered a fire element, and the refrigerator is considered an earth element. So we can't have those things too close to each other, otherwise they kind of cinch each other out. So we just need to kind of consider those being balanced. So like if you're redesigning a kitchen, for example, you really should make sure that there's nothing obstructing it. And you should also make sure that they're not too close, because then it really helps the circulation, and it helps it flow a little bit smoother. So like, let's say your stove is really close to the sink. You could put something like a accessory that has a fire element a little bit farther away from the stove, so it kind of helps balance it. That's just kind of a little tip. Or, just keeping the pathways, if you are redesigning. Another thing, just a really quick fix that's remodeling free would be just, keeping the kitchen clutter free. I know that we all struggle with it, but keeping up with it as much as possible. And even just a quick wipe down of the counters really refreshes the energy too. So, using things that are rounded tend to help too. It kind of helps soften the hard angles. That really helps invite conversation, or maybe even accessories that have rounded elements to it. Kind of helps create that yin and yang. Also having some lively lighting, or kind of a trend that's been happening is, people putting additional lighting like on the countertop. I honestly really love that. They have some really cute like candle lights that that are kind of like a lamp looking, that you can put on the edge. Not only does it create some ambiance, but it just creates this really living, embodied harmony moment. And that's a quick fix too. So number 2, materials that feel like they're at home. So, we're not just picking them for aesthetics, but we're also picking it for how it feels. So that's also something to consider when you're picking materials for a kitchen. Just thinking about the different elements, thinking about the different textures, thinking about how they coexist together. And ultimately, it's what creates that vitality and peace. So like when we're looking, let's look for different wood tones because it's really soft. It just is going to create a grounded energy, and it's going to bring in growth and vitality into the space. Also, earth, bringing that in for stability. So like considering clay tile for your backsplash, or even a natural stone for your backsplash, or even the natural quartz. Man-made quartz is really popular, but it still does have the natural elements into the actual man-made piece, because what they actually do is they ground them up and then cast it. So it still has that natural element to it. I mean, obviously it's been adjusted, but that will also help kind of root the room or ground the room when you're using natural materials like that. So also metal will create clarity. So obviously we have a lot of metals in some of the appliances. Brush brass has been very popular. Stainless has kind of always been a stronghold too, but that helps bring in focus and intention, and just to make sure there's a little bit of metals throughout. Water is considered flow, so like blues and green colors is ways you could incorporate that. Once again, you can bring it in with decor for undertones, or plants to add emotional depth. Fire, so passion. Warm lighting, candles, copper cookware, or just that, having those accessories will encourage joy and connection. So these elements will all kind of harmonize and make it feel balanced and nurturing. And so when you're thinking about your decor, think kind of like how all of those things play together. So when you're thinking number 3, a mindful approach to your meal prepping. So cooking can be a sacred art as well. It can become meditative, and it bridges that nourishment to the gratitude, putting that into your practice when you enter the kitchen. And in feng shui, again, the stove represents wealth and opportunity. So treat that with, a lot of reverence, like keep the burners clean. I know it's really hard to do it, but it really makes a difference. And just make sure that that's evenly clean, and that will help bring in some more abundance. Some other mindful, design rituals that you can do. You can begin cooking with a moment of intention. So you're like, this is going to be a great meal. This is going to be a great moment. And then every time you kind of start, then you'll get that nice feeling. And that way you can acknowledge that energy, and it creates that into your food. And it's really beautiful, considering where it came from and how you want it to end. Also, using something like open shelving or glass, glass cabinets can help you make healthy choices. Also helps invite things in. So also creating a nook for tea or coffee, or, it creates this gratitude nook. I'm definitely seeing this happen more and more. Like they're replacing the desk for, a coffee or tea spot. It kind of becomes this altar of a ritual where, you could put a candle or crystal or a plant just to kind of anchor that daily ritual. But it brings in, once again, intention and infuses that energy into that space. So even conscious meal prep is something also to think about that creates kind of this soulful purpose. So number 4, hosting as a form of self-care. So don't forget that, bringing and inviting people into your home encourages you, one, to not only be, to keep your space a little bit tighter. I know it does for us. But it helps do a complete energy reset. So, try to bring people together. And it also enlightens everybody's, just that sense of kind of community, really brings back everybody's spirits. It just reminds you of, who you were, who you are, or, and how your environment supports you, and how you can show up. So, for some peaceful hosting in feng shui related, clear your countertops, unclutter zones, maintain that chi flow by doing that. So balanced lighting, making sure that you have soft bulbs with that 300K warmth, something with a warm lamp maybe on the side to bring in, maybe a cluster of candles. Maybe you can add some mirrors as a reflective surface. Maybe it could be just like a cute little mirror in the corner, or maybe it can be like a tray where you have a nice appetizer that brings you in, because mirrors reflect more of what you want. And then incorporating scents, because scents, they've done a lot of research that it actually holds memory. So, whether that be diffusing oils or into the space, or even just, doing a scented candle. But these are things that help support serenity and just kind of that active nourishment. Number 5 is the energy of gratitude. So gratitude amplifies everything it touches. It really does. So, just creating rituals of thankfulness. So like, thank you so much for coming, or make a bowl, or maybe a thankful board, or actually creating a bowl of fresh fruit or herbs, or putting a vase of flowers on your island will symbolize that abundance. It'll bring more of it in. And also, who isn't going to be not pissed when they see a big bouquet of flowers in front of them? So just try to keep it well lit, make sure the bulbs are replaced. These are easy fixes, and make sure it's clean. And when you're making selections, make sure they're, warm and, balanced between, noisiness of texture and smoothness, as well as natural materials. So just through this awareness, it's going to create more balance, a better emotional ecosystem for you to live in. So, I hope this is helpful. I hope this creates, a nice thought process. It kind of opens up maybe some conversations. Maybe it inspires you to kind of host and bring some people together. But between, blending some feng shui, blending some mindful rituals, putting some accessories in there, keeping the counters clean, hopefully this inspires you a little bit. I hope to hear from you soon. Please make a comment if this resonated with you. And I'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Hi, sacred friends. Thanks again so much for listening. I just wanted to remind you, October 30th, 7 p.m., we're having a free live workshop. And we are going to find out how to embody our personal style. Yep, that's right. One-on-one, I'm going to take you through exactly how to find your style, make a mood board, play around with the sacred geometry of your kitchen, all in our live workshop, October 30th at 7 p.m. I'll see you there.